Story 1, I work at a cafe in downtown. Quite a few homeless shelters in range, and a huge drug problem. One day I'm working behind the bar, and this redhead kid, probably in his early 20s, sits down in our seating area and starts chanting shit under his breath. After a minute or two, he starts moving his hands around like he's casting a spell. He then gets up, starts yelling and disturbing everyone. I walk over to him and tell him he needs to leave for the day. Dude looks me straight in the eye and says, "This is all a giant game. I'll fucking kill you with one finger." At this point, whatever. I get death threats a lot down here, no biggie. Shoo him on his way, and that's that. Fast forward to when we're closing up, around 9 p.m. Not technically night shift, but it gets dark up here, so it counts. I lock the doors and start heading to the parking garage my car is in. It's probably about 6 blocks away. No big deal. Winter up here is insanely dark, so it's already pretty creepy in downtown. About a block or two of walking, and I hear this hissing noise. I freak the fuck out because I can't see anyone around. I pick up the pace a bit, then I hear hurried footsteps in the snow behind me. Fuck that. I booked it to the staircase for the garage because I wasn't going to wait for the elevator. I'm about a staircase up and I hear the door I just went through slam shut. I finally make it to my car, get in as fast as possible. I look around and lo and behold, there's the redhead from earlier. Only this time he's fucking furious. He sees me in my car and books at full speed and starts hitting my windows screaming, "I'm going to fucking kill you." I door checked him and drove the fuck away. Called the cops the next morning and they found the dude. Apparently he thinks he's in the Illuminati and completely corroborated my story to the police. Small jail time and 1 restraining order later, never seen him again. Story 2, I used to work at a pub that was 2 miles from my house. My shift ended at about 11 one night. I stayed there for a couple of drinks, then started walking home. Now this had been an exceptional night for me tip-wise, and I had close to $400 in cash on me at the time. Between the pub and my house was exactly 1 street light about a quarter mile from the pub. The rest of the walk was in complete darkness. This was a dark night too. It was close to the new moon and cloudy to boot, so it was almost pitch black. Now I live out in the boonies, so there isn't even much light pollution to help out. Not long after I leave the pub, a car slowly drives by me. About a quarter mile down the road, the car slows to a stop, and it just sits there. I stop walking and watch the car. It sits for a few minutes, then slowly drives away. A couple of minutes later, the same car comes slowly driving back by me in the opposite lane. It gets by me, drives a bit down the road, and slows to a stop again. Then it does a U-turn and starts creeping back down the road towards me with the lights off. At this point, I'm fucking terrified. I don't have a cell phone at the time. There's no one around to see what's going on. The car is between me and the pub, so I can't get back to the safety there. My house is still about 1.5 miles away. No way I can quickly escape there. I quickly run off the road into the woods and duck down behind a bush. I watch for the car, but it's too dark to see it with the lights off and bushes/trees/undergrowth between me and the road. I sit there for about 10 minutes, but don't see, hear anything. I'm about to make my way back to the road when I hear car doors closing. Now I'm really panicking. It feels like my chest is about to explode. The hairs on the back of my neck is standing up. I keep imagining someone sneaking up behind me. I stay hidden and hope to God whoever it is doesn't find me. I don't know how long I stay there, but I eventually hear car doors again, then cars passing by. I give it a couple of minutes, then ease back to the road. When I see it's clear, I haul ass back to the pub and let my boss know what happened. He said then and there that I'm never to walk home at night again. Either him, his brother, or his mom will give me a lift home. When the other servers and the kitchen staff hear what happened, they all say the same thing. Never been that terrified before. Story 3. I work night shifts at a gas station. During the weekdays, it's pretty quiet. It's usually only the truckers and taxi drivers who pop by for coffee and the sandwiches we have. But one night I was talking shit with one of the cab drivers. A car drives into the lot, parks, and it sits with its floodlights on bright, aimed towards the glass front. Kinda weird, but maybe the guy forgot what light he got on. It happens. The guy finally enters after maybe 5 minutes of flooding the store part with light, and it's obvious Hez on something. Hez jittery, wide-eyed, looks disheveled, paces around before he buys a coffee, and stares intensely at me throughout the purchase. Worth mentioning, I'm a 5'2" chick with the opposite of a resting bitch face. I smile friendly to everyone, but I work alone for 8 hours in the dead of night. Eerie guy pays for his coffee without a single word, despite my friendly chattiness. So I continue talking with the cab driver, but I still feel this guy staring at me. It was very intense and unsettling. Cab guy probably notices this and leans on the counter and slides his card over, talking a bit hushed that I should call when I get off work if that guy sticks around, because he's getting creepy vibes from him. Cab guy was right. This guy stuck around the shop for about an hour till closing, staring at me clean up, until some truckers arrived. Then he left and sat in his car, parked up against the window, staring until closing time. I called cab guy and he gave me a free ride home. He later told me this weirdo had been driving behind his taxi with his lights on full power. The whole thing was just creepy. Story 4. This isn't fair because I work night shift in a psych facility. Basically, I've seen a lot of things working at night, from people coming in high and psychotic, to people huddling naked in the corner of a room whispering. Scariest thing I have ever seen was a patient coming out to the nurse's station and saying someone is outside of their window looking in. From admission, they had been experiencing pretty strong hallucinations, so we assumed this was another one. To provide some ease, we went into the room to verify that there was no one there and provide them some relief and comfort. We have removable draw curtains in rooms and they were shut. Walked up to it and asked if it was this window. Patients told us that it was, drew it open and had quite possibly the biggest scare of my life. There was somebody there wide-eyed and staring right back at us through the window. He ran off when we saw him and we ended up calling the police as well as security. They never found the guy and we never saw him again. Still creeps me out to this day. Story 5. Not exactly night shift, but as a bartender, I'm usually heading home around 2-4 a.m. On a slow Monday night, we were about to close the restaurant when a seemingly homeless woman walked into the bar. Working in a city, we're used to vagrants making their way into the bar, so kicking her out would be easy. My manager yelled to her, "Hey, sorry, we're closing up. We won't be able to serve you. You'll have to leave." She kept walking slowly and silently toward the bar, staring straight ahead with a blank face. As she walked closer, we realized she looked unusual for a homeless woman. Her skin was gray. I've never seen a skin color like hers in my life. It wasn't dirty or old or tanned. It was a very light gray that was tight with almost no wrinkles. She also had a tattoo of 4 lines on her face. They all started at one point in the center of her chin, then continued down her neck in a ray-like pattern. She also had no shoes on. Once she reached the bar, she went to pull out a chair when my manager yelled again, "Hey, we're closing up. Also, you can't be in here without shoes on. You need to leave now." She continued to sit down, then turned her head slowly to me. Locking eyes with me, she said, "I like you." At this point, my finger was on the bar panic button. Most bars have them, so they can get immediate police response. Our bouncer finally made his way over and put his hand on her shoulder to ask her to leave. The minute he touched her, she broke out into this extremely loud, high-pitched, manic scream. It was like a scream out of a horror movie. What made it creepier, the whole time she was screaming, she was looking at me dead in the eye without blinking. She wasn't moving, so my bouncer went to forcibly remove her from the bar. I pushed the panic button and watched my bouncer pull away this woman as she was screaming uncontrollably, all while staring straight at me. The police came fairly quickly and took the woman away. To this day, that is still the creepiest night I've ever had at work. Story 6. When I was in Afghanistan, we were in the mountains right on the Pakistani border. The first few months of the deployment were pretty hairy, but as soon as winter rolled around and the fighting season dried up, things got really quiet. Night shift went from, "When are we gonna get hit?" to, "What kind of weird shit am I gonna witness tonight?" I think it was February or so, and I was out on guard in the north-facing machine gun shack. We all had night vision devices, NODs, so since it was pitch black, we always wore them on night shifts. Well, I was looking out into the mountains when I see what looks like a dude come crawling out from behind a boulder up the hill, about 100 meters. Being February, we hadn't gotten hit in almost a month because there was 2 feet of snow on the ground and the temps were hovering right around 0. So the Taliban chucked deuces back to Pakistan and left us alone for the cold months. Now this dude was on all fours like a fucking animal, just sitting there half behind a boulder, seemingly staring into my soul. So I pointed the machine gun at him and turned on the visible laser. Put the laser right on his nose. Didn't get a reaction. Nothing. Dude just stared at me. So at this point, I'm getting a little freaked out. I'd been blown up, shot at, almost RPG'd, and now some local is playing fuck games. I radioed into our TOC, Tactical Operations Center, that there was an unarmed local staring at me on the North Post, and I either wanted someone to clear me to wax him or come out and look at what I was seeing. E5 on the radio tells me he's sending a private out to babysit me. Fucking dick. Dude comes out, looks up at the hill at this dude, and promptly nopes the fuck out. Goes back to the TOC and tells the E5 that there really was a dude just staring at us out on the mountain. So the E5 comes up to the shack and I point this dude out. I shit you not, as soon as the E5 gets eyes on the local, the dude jumps up, hops up on the boulder, and starts fucking screaming like somebody just dipped him in boiling water. Guard tower at the east corner can now also see the guy. And as soon as the crazy local started howling, East Shack loosed about a 30-round burst of 7.62 out over his head. That shit is loud when it's dead quiet. Crazy guy jumps off the rock and runs down the mountain screaming the whole way. Dead quiet the rest of the night, but the commander upped security to 50%, meaning half the dudes on our outpost had to pull security the rest of the night. The running joke for the rest of the winter was to be on the lookout for the mind control experiment that the CIA lost track of. Freaked me the ever-loving fuck out. Good for a story, though.
Thanks for watching. Don't leave before leaving a like to this video. Also hit the subscribe button to support my work. And as always, have a horrific nightmare, my dear.